Cancel the shuttle. I will deal with the intruders myself.
Forces are under attack.
When I started playing this game, I never expected to find an alien wall squid that cluster bombs my units with green slime, but here we are. WorldShift was developed by Black Sea Studios back in 2008 Bulgaria, and considering how well Knights of Honor did, I didn't expect their next game to be such a mess. In contrast with the other studios that made the games I like to review, these guys are still around, and after WorldShift, they shifted to only making Total War games. The game has a certain similarity to Dawn of War 2 and Warhammer in general that we'll explore later on, but this one didn't have an established IP backing the title. Combined with a lot of shortcomings, it's not surprising the servers shut down about a year after release. So let's have a look at an RTS that ditched resource management, base building and tech trees in favor of co-op and a multiplayer-focused artifact hunt. The game is set in the far future, after a mysterious object called the Shard Zero crashed onto the Earth and wiped out our civilization. Its corrupting influence has mutated the planet, and it's still spreading out a plague, even now, thousands of years after the impact. The surviving humans live in megacities, scavenging for what resources they can find. Those that didn't have the privilege of sheltering in a city and didn't die from the plague evolved and developed psychic abilities, living in tribes around the world. There's also an alien cult that worships the Shard and tries to destroy the planet, so swell times all around. The intro cutscene looks very similar to the Banshee one from Dawn of War 2, even if this came out like 9 months before it. You've got big guys in power armor, an almost human but not quite humanoid with red hair and psychic powers that darts around the battlefield. People live in megacities and hate the other factions, while there are ancient aliens with a strange green light that try to destroy everyone else. There are only 3 cutscenes in the whole game, even when there are some story moments that desperately need one. They probably spent all the cinematics budget on the Guardian jiggle physics. The maps are amazingly detailed for 2008, and Earth in the future looks very alien. Some of the environments include rainforests where the lightning bolts turn the game into a black and white movie, jungles filled with the ruins of the old world, an ancient city filled with traps, scorched wastelands covered in ash, stony canyons filled with monster eggs, lava chasms where corrupted crystals grow, and a desert with large meaty plants. I wonder what prey they evolved to hunt with those fangs. The only drawbacks with these maps are the ugly map edges and the need to rotate the map constantly to see what's going on. There are plenty of arches that block visibility in some missions, and if you click on them in weird angles, your army will turn itself around, especially annoying when you're chased by an enemy through a minefield. The models are few, but they aged quite well, and since there aren't many units in the game, you'll instantly recognize them in each mission. I wish I could just zoom in a little bit more to really take in the details. The humans are soldiers in power armor and mechs. Their heroes are lords, surgeons, judges and assassins, and they all have this futuristic look. The tribes are a collection of warriors, beasts and underworld creatures. While they live in huts and temples, they have some of the best looking heroes in the form of the stone ghosts and the howling horrors. And finally, the Jarlash cult has various insectoid units, a flying brain, and the heroes are large constructs that manipulate the field of battle by debilitating enemy units. Besides those, we have a menagerie of wild beasts and a colorful cast of strange mutant mercenaries that feel at home in a Star Wars cantina. There are also plenty of structures in the game that would make for some beautiful bases, but not being able to build them or train units from them is a crime. I was really impressed the first time I saw lightning in this game, but then it kept going and it felt like I was playing half the mission in black and white. Thankfully, it's just this one, and in terms of projectiles, explosions and spell effects, nothing really stands out, and they all feel quite generic. The UI is a bit small, and this is a problem as you can't see the most important information at a glance. Ability icons and some temporary effects are almost impossibly small to see. Damaged units have this red overlay over their portrait, which again is small, and without floating HP bars, it's hard to tell which enemy or friendly unit is wounded without selecting them. Strangely enough, I tapped out during the last mission of the campaign, and when I got back in, everyone had floating health bars that even showed things like shields and energy. Amazing, where was this the whole game? As it turns out, holding the Alt key shows the HP bars, and Alt tabbing just locks it in. I would also like to see how much damage the enemy units are doing. Even if you select them, the stats are not shown. Is this secret information? There are these floating numbers above units, and it's probably damage, but then why is it a plus some number instead of a minus? Are we adding damage instead of reducing HP? At least you can design your own icon for multiplayer matches, I guess. Not much to say in terms of sound effects, as everyone has the same pew pew lasers and the music is so loud it drowns out everything else. The tracks are bangers though, but they seem to play only when they want to. The main menu is silent until it decides to play something, and even in missions the music starts and stops seemingly at random, but the silence can be annoying at times when it cuts off. Imagine my surprise when I realized the music was composed by Viktor Stoyanov and Borislav Slavov. If you don't know them, they're behind some of the best soundtracks we've had in games. Crysis 3, Divinity Original Sin 2, and even Baldur's Gate 3. While there aren't any rivers to go down to in this game, there are 17 energetic tracks that set the atmosphere, and here are some of the best. Voice acting is alright for the most part, if you ignore the cult master repeating his name before every action like a Pokemon. A lot of the story is told through text at the beginning of each mission, and the narrator, while alright in the start, he starts skipping over words around mission 4.
The warriors came across Genthu entering their options.
And by mission 6, it's a full-blown stroke.
Now Denkar, Genthu, and Edgy must infiltrate Sully to meet Arna.
Instead of helping the poor man dying in the studio, they just added his choking sounds to the final cut of the game. For once, we have a game that looks great and runs well out of the box. Right resolution, cursor is locked to the screen properly, amazing. But it did crash on me 4 times during my gameplay. This wouldn't be a problem if single-player missions weren't treated as solo multiplayer games, where you have checkpoints but no saves. So when the game is frozen in the last defense section of the whole map, you have to restart it from the beginning. The focus is moved away from base building and resource gathering, no tech trees or upgrades to research, and instead we get an RTS centered around combat where we control the units and heroes we're given. At its core, this is a multiplayer game, and besides the skirmish and PvP modes, we have a not very long 18-mission campaign. There are 10 very hard co-op scenarios that you can unlock by playing the campaign, where you and 2 other people work together to win. If you can convince your friends to play, of course. The artifacts are items that provide small bonuses to your heroes, and you can equip them anytime from the main menu. Each campaign mission will let you pick one of 3 artifacts from the loot pool, each corresponding to one faction, and you can also find them occasionally in-game. But for me, it never felt worth it to go after them, since most of the time they're super well defended and going for them might put the whole mission in danger. Or simply because everything you find on the ground has a common rarity. Whoa, a whole 2% increase. At least you can replay the mission if you really want another artifact from it. The rarer ones are better, but overall they really have a small impact. You get to take these artifacts with you in every campaign, skirmish, co-op or multiplayer game, so this, along with some improvements, are the permanent buffs you can farm and level up to gain dominion over your enemies. There aren't many games that let you do something like this, usually because of balancing reasons. Age of Empires 3 had a great system with the home shipments where you could level up your city and pick new cards for a deck you'd bring in multiplayer matches. Still, that didn't stop people from editing their saves to have level 100 and everything unlocked. Speaking of heroes, each faction has a leader and 4 other sidekicks to choose from. These are the most important units, and using the right ability at the right time can be the difference between victory and defeat. Regardless of faction, the heroes are functionally the same. You have a ranged damage dealer, a healer for biological or mechanical units, some sort of caster with area of effect spells, and someone with crowd control. They might look different, but a shaman with a healing aura, a surgeon that places down a healing bot, and a manipulator with a healing vortex all do the same thing. Since you mostly juggle them around, it can feel more like a MOBA game, while you have an entire row of abilities to keep track of. But I do appreciate the unified command card, so you don't have to fiddle around selecting the different casters. Overall, this game is either too easy or way too hard. There aren't many things to manage, mostly who's taking damage, and almost all encounters have a healer. At least it's accessible because anyone can just sit here and watch these drawn out fights play out, while the hard missions will have you fight against a lot of enemies, stealth section or boss fights. And I also want to emphasize, each faction has only 4 non-hero units to use, and it gets repetitive quite fast. I gave up on using hotkeys because they are all over the place. If you can move the camera with WASD, why are the spells for one hero on Z, H and L? The campaign is a jumbled mess where you jump from mission to mission while crazy things happen off-screen, and the game keeps coming up with reasons to give the protagonist units from the other factions. It throws around character and sci-fi names without any context, and I did my best to piece together the story with my own visuals. Please enjoy what the Gamebox likes to call a gripping single-player campaign. The game starts off with Gantu and AG in North Africa, talking about a prophecy. There's always a prophecy in these games. We then meet Onkar Nivara, the governor of Sailing, who looks like a World of Warcraft paladin, preparing to leave on an expedition where his son Denkar provides security. As soon as the cutscene is done, we're instantly dropped in combat with greenskins. While clearing out the area of hostiles, our father is blown up and we have to escape.
Father, no!
Every mission has this green arrow pointing you towards the next objective, and I guess it's a good thing if you want to explore off the beaten path. I get swarmed, but the best strategy here is to just ignore everyone and run to the end. Rumors spread of how Denkar killed his own father. It's not like we had an entire squad of witnesses, so he gives up his position as heir to pass up the governorship to his sister Arna. Years later, he's living with the mutants in the Sahar Desert when the camp is under attack. We now get to try out the second faction as we fight back the human raiders that want to steal our xenolite crystals. Think of this as the purple Fanta to Tiberium's green Mountain Dew. We set out to warn a nearby village where Gantu and AG are residing, and we must defend her at all costs since she might be the Redeemer from the prophecy. As it turns out, fellow tribe member Rag Ho conspired with the humans to kill Gantu and take over his position as chief. In a shocking twist, my successor, who has the most to gain from my death, betrayed me. And this is a solo mission with Gantu, for the most part, where we have to juggle healing and zapping kill squads while our mana regenerates very slowly. We take AG and flee the village after fighting 2 awesome-looking Hellfire mechs. Then Denkar and Gantu join forces and infiltrate the Dune Town Raiders base to steal a ship. We distract a few enemies in this stealth section and escape on board the aircraft before Frankenstein, the giant, finds us. We can't fly into the city with a Dune Town ship, and we can't call them for some reason, so Denkar makes the executive decision to land in the lava fields that surround the city, and continue the journey on foot. We make our way through the passages, and it's mostly a matter of dodging the lava and having Denkar in the front to tank the frog mercs. Instead of a warm welcome, our own people are shooting at us. Looks like political backstabbing is common regardless of race, as Senator Nimartin gave the order to have us killed, and we honor duel Commander Keen for safe passage. Denkar is worried that his sister lost control of the city, and we have to infiltrate the base in another stealth section. We loot explosive charges and plant them around the compound to distract the enemy patrols, and eventually reach the city gates. Our merry band reaches the top of the tower to find Joss Nimartin holding a gun to Arna's head, forcing our heroes to surrender. We get imprisoned, and Judge Kundanidal, appointed to guard us, turns out to be our savior, as she incapacitates the guards and teleports us to Aurora, headquarters of the Order. Please don't ask me which order, they never say. Aliens attack, and we're sent out to deal with them and their breeding nest. Back in the city, AG uses her healing powers to cleanse Arna of the drugs Nimartin has been pumping into her. There are apparently no consequences for the man who drugged and kidnapped the governor, and after a council meeting, we're sent out in search of a mythical lost city. Sure, why not? With the family library out of reach for some reason, the only way to find clues is to retrieve Onkar's journal. You know, our father who died years ago in a swamp and we left his body there to rot. We set out through the frozen wastelands of America to find an outpost of this lost civilization. Instead, I find a canyon filled with scorpions that explode on contact. There's a bonus artifact here, but it's defended by an entire hatchery. And I think this was the original inspiration for the Baneling Nest mission from Heart of the Swarm. Just look how many there are. We find the one plopping down all these eggs and kill the old one on the outskirts of the lost city. Apparently many people tried to reach this place, but no one returned to tell the tale, so naturally the council gives us a small squad to explore the city, maximizing the chances we die here without proper fire support. The alien wall squids make visibility super hard as they bombard my units with this green slime, and we fight the alien cult as we disable the force fields that kept the city sealed off all these years. Inside we find traps and more frog mercenaries. I thought this place was sealed off. What happened? You can barely see the traps, and clicking on the archways sends your army in a different direction where the traps wait for fresh boots. There is a point where we need to flip a switch to open a door, and a giant mech comes to life, spraying everything with a barrage of endless rockets. You have to juggle every single healing ability you have so you can pass this encounter and escape. But I do hate this mission with a burning passion. We find a strange device with psychic properties in the center of the maze, and the story is weird again. It's time to play as the third faction, but how can the game achieve this while still keeping Denkar as the protagonist? Apparently we get surrounded, and right as the cult master is ready to deal the killing blow, Gantu sacrificed his own body to brainwash the alien and gain control over his mind. With his spirit possessing Tarksha's body, we set out to find his ship and fly away with the device. The next missions are a series of Scooby-Doo chases as we try to take the orb to the Zero Shard. The ship gets shot down above Siberia and we have to fight the Jarlash cult. We send word back to base, apparently we do have a phone, and our sister flies in to help us. Her ship breaks down as well and we fight the cult. Apparently no one knows how to make a decent ship in this whole game. Mutants find our crashed ship and attack us because we are playing as the evil aliens. The cult steals the orb we've been carrying for the past 3 missions, and once we meet up with the rescue squad, we merge forces and head for the hellhole where both the cult and the shard are located. The last mission involves a psychic battle between AG and the Archmaster. The only way to win is to clear out the enemy camps to stop them from spawning units endlessly and then hiding some units behind the Master. Once the mental duel begins, there aren't any units to attack AG to weaken her, while the Master gets lasered from behind. We get to see the last cutscene of the game as AG destroys the shard and saves the world. We get a legendary artifact for our troubles, and we can now move on to more interesting game modes. Skirmish and PvP games are very different from the campaign missions. You get to pick your faction and starting units. You have a base, there is a population cap, and you slowly generate resources to purchase units from the HQ. There are neutral enemies on the map defending patches of xenolite crystals we can capture to build secondary structures that generate income and can also train basic units. The campaign would have been a lot better if we had any choice in terms of units, a reason to expand the map, and all of these features. After winning a skirmish match, I get no xenolith, no artifacts, and 3 battle points to spend in the artifact shop, where everything is random and the decent ones cost between 50 and 90 points, so it's quite a grind. Not to mention, a new player would end up fighting veterans that had all the good artifacts and skills unlocked. Looking at the co-op missions, 7 of them are locked behind the campaign and 2 others can be downloaded separately with the multiplayer demo pack. Since this isn't 2008 anymore and GameSpy is dead, the only way I managed to get multiplayer working was by using Radmin VPN. You're free to pick the faction and starting units you want, and if your squad leader dies, you lose control of your units and your friends have to respawn you. I shared my game profile with my friends, so everyone would have the missions unlocked, and it was a wild experience. We fought Frankenstein, giant mechs.
Cancel the shuttle. I will deal with the intruders myself.
Forces are under attack.
We've combed the desert for half an hour looking for Rambo, and fought large monsters in a safari hunt with mechanics that rival a World of Warcraft raid in terms of difficulty. We couldn't win a single game, but we got a ton of loot from it and we had a blast. In conclusion, WorldShift is a great looking RTS that does many things differently, but few of them well. It's great to look at, but the campaign is a disappointment. Without multiplayer, this game feels a bit hollow, so the co-op and skirmish experiences are the best way to enjoy the game. There is a Discord community of about 80 people, so you could find other players happy to dive into the multiplayer with you. If we're talking single player only, this game gets 2 out of 5 frog marks. But if we take co-op into consideration, I guess we can raise that to 3 frogs and a wall tentacle. I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, let me know what are some of your favorite forgotten games. Thanks for watching and for the supportive comments, I do read all of them, and I'll see you in the next one.